EAGLES, Eagles.
And welcome in, everybody, to a Football Friday edition of Birds 365 here on JAKIB Sports. I'm your host, Zander Krause. That's my co-host, Johnny Mac, John McMullen. Wrapping up the week here now. Phase 2 of free agency, maybe in the rearview mirror now. You can call it phase 2, phase 3 at this point. We inch closer to the NFL draft, just 34 days away now from the NFL draft. Johnny Mac, how you doing on this Football Friday, my friend?
Some new players to talk about.
Yep.
The great Stone Smart is in town. Love the name.
Yeah.
Looking forward. Good special teams player. I think it's more to do about special teams. And then maybe someone people have heard of, Damien Pierce, running back, signs. Interesting signing from the standpoint. Don't necessarily get where he fits. People might remember as a rookie at a big game against the Eagles in Houston on Thursday night. It's the same day the World Series and all that happened, and Phillies were playing the Astros, and the Eagles struggled a little bit, mainly because they couldn't stop Damien Pierce. They ended up winning the game and obviously went on to make the Super Bowl that season. But that's his best game ever. And sometimes I think these GMs get caught up in guys who play well against them.
Yeah.
And, but if you look at where, obviously Saquon and Tank Bigsby and Will Shipley, and, people could say, well, he's an upgrade over Will Shipley, but really not that style of running back. So, if you bring in Damien Pierce, he's not a third down back. That means Saquon's got to play all third downs because Tank's not a third down back. So don't necessarily get the fit there. But we'll see how it shakes out. Maybe he just turns into this year's A.J. Dillon. And it's just on the roster, but doesn't necessarily play that much. And, Stone Smart's a former college quarterback who shifted to receiver, then tight end. So he's a flex tight end, but he's more of as I said, a special teams player. But the problem with that is, you got to make the 53 to help on special teams. So are you going to carry him at tight end and move on from Grant Calcaterra or Johnny Muntz? So some interesting questions, but hey, competition never hurts. Never hurts.
No, I agree. Stone Smart is a hell of a name too, Johnny Mac. That's like a Hall of Fame name right there, Stone. Sounds like it could be a WWE wrestler, doesn't it? Stone Smart.
Yeah, don't say that. They might trademark that stupid name. It's my biggest pet peeve with WWE. I thought it would die once Vince left, Vince McMahon, in scandal, but his policy was make up these stupid names so you could merchandise them because,
yeah, right.
And then if they leave, if they go to the competition or something, you own the name, so they can't use the name. But they would come up with these stupid names. Like, God love him, he's one of the biggest stars, and now I've gotten past it because, he might be the biggest future star in the industry. And his name is Bron Breakker. Well, his name is Bronson. His real name is He's a Steiner. For those who know wrestling, he's a Steiner, who are legendary wrestlers. Why not call him Bron Steiner? Because you don't own the name. He owns the name. It's his name. Well, his name is Rex Steiner, but you get the point. Stupid. Anyway, I'm down this tangent.
A nice little tangent to start on.
Don't say that because they'll use that name. It is a great name.
And then Stone might find himself ending up in the WWE fighting with that name.
Yeah.
It's like a little lesser extent. It's like buying domains, John. I buy domains left and right. If I ever think of anything, any idea that I've ever had, even if it doesn't come to fruition, I buy the domain for like 5 years. I'm like, give myself some time in case I want that domain. I don't want anybody else to have it. So that's what I do. That's not quite as big as the WWE trademarking names. But Stone Smart has landed in Philly. John, what do you make of the Damien Pierce move? Do you think Do you think that's a legit, a guy that they expect to legit get some touches? Like, do you think he could be the number 2 back? I mean, he had a good year a couple years ago. He hasn't done much in the last few seasons. Was definitely on the way down a little bit. I don't know if that's because of his usage or whatever the case may be. But 26 years old. He's a smaller dude, 5'10", so he's kind of a shorter guy. Do you expect him to kind of get some touches in this rotation, or is he going to have to fight for a roster spot?
No, he's going to have to fight for a roster spot. And I think to a lesser degree, Tank Bigsby is, but you gave up what you gave up for Tank Bigsby. Very similar frame wise, very similar, I would say, running backs. Pierce, a lot of injuries over the past couple of years. So I think it would be a big disappointment if this guy beat out Tank Bigsby. But again, I don't think competition hurts. Never hurts. So, if he plays better, sure. But
he only had 36. Was that right? He only had 36 rushing yards last year.
Yeah, he hasn't done much since his rookie year, to be honest, where he had over 900 yards and he had 139 against the Eagles, which was his career high game. Never really did much after that. But if you look at him, he's 5'10", 215, so he's pretty thick.
Right.
Tank's 5'11", 215, so they're listed very similar. Tank is more explosive, I think, as everyone got to see. But I don't think he got cut by Houston last year and ended up on the Kansas City practice squad. So part of it is that he barely played. And last time in 2024, he only had 40 carries, but he had 293 yards. He had a 92-yard run, so there's some explosiveness there. Doesn't hurt. I haven't seen the contract yet, but I'm sure it's for the league minimum. And if he's better than Tank Bigsby, give him the job.
I don't think he's going to be better than Tank Bigsby. I mean, I'm not sure. I like Damien Pierce, but if you look at the trajectory, it's not looking great. Now, maybe that's just because of where he was, and maybe a change of scenery helps him. But we will find out. I've been on this, John. I do think the Eagles should, potentially pursue. I don't want to call it a full 2 running back approach, but I think they should be willing to give more opportunities to other backs. Not because I think it's going to, not because I think Barkley's not capable, but because I think he gives your team an advantage. I mean, did it hurt Jahmyr Gibbs to give the ball to David Montgomery? Hey, maybe some people think it did, but it worked out well. It was a good change of pace. It was a good dual threat type of back system. It served Detroit well. You see some other teams doing it well. Chicago notably did it last year as well with the 7th-round pick in Kyle Monangai. I think the Eagles should look to that, man. I mean, we've talked about Saquon Barkley, John, 29 years old, 9th
Well,
year
I
in the
think,
league.
yeah, I think,
I don't know how much that guy has in the tank in terms of carrying the load for the whole year, 350 tight things like that. I don't know if that's the smart way to use Saquon at this point in his career.
Well, I think with Saquon, it's more about next year. And by next year, I don't mean 2026. I mean 2027, because I think there's a good chance he won't be here in 2027. So you have to start thinking about, just like other positions, whether it's Lane Johnson, Landon Dickerson, you have to think about the future as well. And, if you bring this kid in and you have 2 guys who, have some juice and maybe could develop and turn into either what you're talking about, maybe a rotation, maybe a part of a rotation. But I think that's post Saquon Barkley, not with him here. But I think post Saquon Barkley might come quicker than people realize. So it's kind of my point. So, my hunch is they'll find a spot for him if he shows anything in training camp, similar to A.J. Dillon. Not necessarily going to be relevant, but keep him around, try to develop him. Injuries always happen, and he could potentially get in the mix. But to me, yeah, he would have to beat out Tank, and I don't think he's going to beat out Tank. Not my Tank, Tank Bigsby. He's not going to beat out my Tank either. But I don't think he's going to beat him out. So, just depth, draft proofing. You don't have to draft a running back now. Probably going to bring in an undrafted guy just for training camp and things like that. But it's a worthy dart throw, I would say, but I wouldn't expect all that much.
Yeah, I'm not expecting that of Damien, but I'm wondering if the Eagles should take up that approach. Now, it doesn't look like they're gonna because they have Tank and Damien now, so that's probably who they're going to roll in with. But I wouldn't be upset if they made a significant move at run, not significant, but a little bit better than a dart throw, somebody that you brought in and had confidence, or who would get 150 touches or something like that. I think that would be a good thing for the Eagles, but maybe not, John. I know they're paying Saquon Barkley what they're paying him, so it's probably not going to be realistic for them to go that route, but we will see what they end up doing. So Damien Pierce signed by the Philadelphia Eagles, and Stone Smart. Okay, I like that name. That is an excellent name, Johnny Mac, Stone Smart, as we mentioned. So those are the two new names in Philadelphia Eagle land. John, now as we wrap up this week, still got edge rushers, still have safety, still have the NFL draft, obviously, where I think they'll get some of these guys. But what's the most pressing thing right now, obviously, to get done? And what do you know about where they are with it? I think edge rusher is the obvious one. Are you hearing anything, John? Is it all quiet on the Western Front as we wait for that move to land?
No, it's pretty quiet because the NFL meetings are coming up next week. Obviously, edge and safety as well are the obvious needs and will continue to be until they address them. And that could go into the summer, into the season, as we saw last year with Jalen Phillips. But they know, obviously, things have to happen at those two positions. And, the draft is a big part of it. I mentioned Kilgore from South Carolina that they're going to bring in for a 30 visit at a safety, potential day 2 pick. Not necessarily in love with the thought of a rookie playing next to a second-year guy, but, if there's talent and you can tap into it, and Vic obviously has a good history of doing that. On paper, you're very strong at corners, so that'll help as well. Maybe as simple as that at safety, bringing Marcus Epps back as a safeguard, something like that. But, yeah, I mean, edge rusher's the obvious need because they're in the same position they were last year before they got Jalen Phillips, when it was obvious, look, they're trying to get to Darius Smith, who was actually playing well before he decided, no, I need to go back to Florida. And then they talked Brandon out of retirement, and then they finally traded for Jalen Phillips. They knew they had to add. They know the same thing this year because they made Jalen Phillips a priority and just got outpriced. So they have to do something, whether it's shifting gears in the first round. We all think offensive line. Ultimately, I think it will be offensive line, but, somebody like Keldrick falls, maybe you have to shift gears. I don't know who else would fit that category because I think the really top guys are going to be gone. And then I think he'd be the only one worthy of taking a shot at that position in the draft, where you have to go out and get Grenard. Remember, the Grenard stuff is simmered down now, but that'll pop back up during the draft.
Right. Yeah, well. Is he the right fit, though, John Grenard? I mean, we've talked a lot about the name, and he's obviously a very good player, but I don't know if he's the right fit, Is he? I don't know. You tell me. You know more about his game. I like him, but he reminds me of, of a pure pass rushing guy who really gets after the quarterback. And I'm sure he does some other stuff well, too. I'm not trying to take away from him. I haven't watched enough Jonathan Grenard to really give you a full scouting report on him, but Vic likes certain types of edges. That's become very evident in his time here and really in his career, but especially here. Is that the right fit?
Well, I do think people miss. That's what he's had here. He hasn't had the great natural pass rusher, so he goes about it a different way. I think and I always bring up Khalil Mack. He took advantage of Khalil Mack. So, like, he'll morph and take advantage of a player, of a good player. And yeah, I think just if you frame it like who's better, Jonathan Grenard or Jalen Phillips, I would say Jonathan Grenard's better. But that's certain degree, obsession with pass rush and finishing. But he's also a good run support player as well. He's one of the best edge rushers in football. He played in Houston before he went to Minnesota. It was interesting because Houston signed Danielle Hunter, who's phenomenal, from Minnesota, and then Minnesota signed Grenard from Houston. So it ended up being sort of a trade, and Hunter's, potential Hall of Famer if he keeps going. But he's really good, Grenard. Like, he was last year when he had a down year, PFF had graded as the 18th best pass rusher, but also the 10th best run defender as an edge player. So, yeah, I think he'll fit just fine if they can get him. And if they can get him for less than Phillips, which I think they will because he's under contract, but he's massively underpaid, so you have to redo his contract. He's still young. I mean, yeah, if they can get him, it's a home run. Home run.
Good stuff there. Johnny Mack, we'll see what happens. We're going to talk a little bit about edge rushers more. I got some names for Johnny Mack. We'll see what he thinks. Jonathan Grenard is obviously the big one in terms of a trade, and you'd have to give him a contract. So a lot of commitment there the Eagles would have to do to get Jonathan Grenard. I might be above what they're looking to do, but we will find out, and I'll run some names by John a little later on in the show. I want to welcome and thank everybody for being here today. A couple super chats we will get to after our segment number 1 here. Just wrapping up on the Eagle news yesterday. Stone Smart signed, and Damien Pierce signed with the Philadelphia Eagles. John, you got a chance to talk to some of those players yesterday, and I think Damien Pierce was made available to you guys. You had somebody in the morning as well. You guys have talked to a bunch of them on Zoom. Any takeaways from what you've had a chance to talk to some of these players about? I don't know how many people consume all of those interviews. I listened to a couple of them. Then I got called into the honeydew duty, John. So I didn't hear them all. But you getting any takeaways from your conversations with some of these new acquisitions?
Yeah, I'll tell you. You bring that up. I'm getting in a lot of trouble because I'm always doing something, and you'll learn. I think you'll learn when you get married that they will never understand, because I do the same thing happens to me every year. Well, the season's over. What are you doing? I'm like, what do you mean? What am I doing? What do you mean? They signed 2 players today. They read. I have to argue to work. So anyway, that's sort of your future, I think, Zander. I'm sorry.
I work a lot, so that's going to cause quite a bit of rift, honey, if you're listening.
Well, you're going to get the season's over. You're going to get a lot of that, which I assume you already do. But as you can see, the offseason, I try to explain people. For people like me, it's much more intensive than the regular season. Other than the waiting aspect, you go down there for practice every day, and that part of it is, but as far as things happening and signings and extensions and rework contracts, and Jake Elliott, they reworked Jake Elliott's contract, guys coming in to sign their contracts. Jonathan Jones flying in on his own plane. That was the most interesting part. Yesterday we got Hollywood Brown. We got Damien Pierce. We got Braden Mann, who got a 4-year deal as a punter. which is rare. So the Eagles showed a lot of confidence in him. I think the most interesting one was Hollywood, but I think he's the most interesting one because not only for the nickname, but AJ, let's be honest. I mean, there's an impact. They paid a lot of money for Hollywood Brown as a third receiver, typically to what they spend as a third receiver. And then you bring up Andy Dalton, which I'm sure we'll get at some point, although the meetings next week might push that back a little bit. $6.5 million is typically a heck of a lot more than they've been spending for the wide receiver 3 position. So does that raise the antenna with AJ and yada, yada, yada? When we'll see how that shakes out. But yeah, they've been issuing, if you look at what they're paying Braden Mann, what they're paying Andy Dalton, what they're paying Jake Elliott, what they're paying Hollywood Brown, they're investing in places they other teams don't, or they typically don't. And what does that tell you? Maybe it's something, maybe it's nothing. I mean, at some point, you talk about the quarterback situation. At some point, people are going to have to recognize this team really, 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 really values the quarterback position, even quarterback 3. As evidenced by their history. Go all the way back to drafting. I went back to Gardner Minshew. You can go all the way back. I should have went all the way back to drafting Jalen Hurts, which pissed off Carson Wentz. That, again, the revision of that was that they wanted Jalen Hurts to be more than a cost-effective backup quarterback, which wasn't the case when they made the pick. Ended up being the case and worked out well for the Eagles. They just value that position, and they don't want to give up on a season, which I think Eagles fans should be happy about. Because if the catastrophe happens and Jalen gets hurt and Tanner gets hurt, and then you got to pay, you usually have Max Brosmer types out there. Remember that last year?
Yeah, I do.
Well, they'll be able to roll out Andy Dalton. And now you have the optionality if somebody does pick up the phone and says, look, we heard our quarterback. Let's go see if we can get Tanner McKee. And they want to offer a conditional 3 or whatever. Now you have the flexibility to do that. So
right. Prey on desperation if you need
exactly. To. And they've done that in the past with Sam Bradford, when Teddy Bridgewater got hurt.
Exactly.
They preyed on desperation. Yeah. So anyway, that the offseason is, I say it all the time, it's far more interesting than the regular season.
Good stuff there. Yeah, it's interesting. We will talk about more of this, Johnny Mac, as we roll through the show today on a Football Friday. John, what do you make of I saw this come out, and you're going to have to bring some clarity to this. The Eagles started the offseason pretty low in cap space, closer to the bottom of the league. Now, as they've shuffled, they've changed, they've made some moves, they've made some additions, cuts, signings, whatever you want to call it, restructures. They've gone from 18 to over 42 million in cap space.
Yeah, they keep going up.
Yeah, so they're up to now 7th in the league in available cap space. Is there anything to read into that? Should somebody look at that and think the Eagles are freeing up cap so they can make a big move? Is it just simple roster cap management like the Eagles do? How do you kind of see what the Eagles have tried to do with their cap space and getting, freeing up a bunch more space? Like you see teams like the Cowboys do it, but boy, it's obvious why they did it, because they were, they were way over. So you got to get cap compliant. The Eagles are a little different in that they're freeing up more space available. What do you make of it, John?
Well, every time the Eagles sign a deal, a re-signing or an extension, they're creating cap room.
Right.
Every single time. So, Jake Elliott, Dallas Goedert, Jordan Davis, you're creating cap room, even though you're in the case of Jordan Davis, you're paying him substantially more money because of the way they do their books and the void years and spreading things out. So, It's not about it's not about creating space. Everybody goes down that route every year. It's not about creating space to make a big move. It's about creating same thing what we said about on the field with Andy Dalton in the trade market, flexibility, optionality, whatever you want to call it. So, for instance, if they want to make the trade before June 1st with AJ Brown, they can do it now. They can pull the trigger anytime. You still have to take your medicine from the cap standpoint, but they could fit it in under the cap. They technically, and the positive about that is you get the big hit over early, as opposed to it lingering for 2 years. So there's some positives, negatives to that. Still more than likely it would happen post June 1st, because the Eagles always like to kick the can down the road. But if it's there, they can do it. If they like the get back, they could do it. Now, a lot of people have also brought up, and I hesitate with this, the 2027 draft is better than the 2026 draft. Well, it probably will be at quarterback, and I think too many people defaulted to that because it's not necessarily a great quarterback draft. But I'll also hesitate at points during the process. Guys like Garrett Nussmeier, Cade Klubnik, Drew Aller, they were no doubt about it first-round picks till they played last season. Now, it's a bad quarterback draft. Well, the same thing might happen to Arch Manning and CJ Carr and whoever else. Arch Manning didn't look like the first overall pick last year, certainly early in the season.
Yeah, I hate that conversation, John, where, next year's draft is going to be way better. I'm like, yeah. Let's see.
So, I mean, and obviously the Eagles have a whole staff, and they might think that, they might not think that. But yeah, I'm more in your boat. We'll see, because there's going to be a bunch of guys you're told are no doubt about it first rounders who aren't going to be first rounders. So my point is, maybe they don't mind waiting for 2027 draft capital for AJ Brown. And that would indicate post June 1st more than pre June 1st. Because, like I said, AJ Brown in New England, I'm tired of beating around the bush. AJ's going, that's most likely where he's going.
To the Patriots?
Yeah. So if they're just having a stare down contest, a pissing contest.
That's a great way to look at it. A stare down contest.
So if I don't care if they get AJ Brown. They're probably not making the Super Bowl next year. No, I mean, I'm not saying they can't. They have the upside to, but it's just unlikely.
Do you think AJ will have a big year if he goes there?
Yeah, but he'll be motivated, health. Hopefully he's healthy on it.
Did you see that report that came out about the knee?
Yeah, he said.
Was that a real report or was that fake news?
I didn't see the report you're talking about, but he said
it wasn't a report. Is not the right word. I shouldn't use that word because that's reserved for real reports. But I saw this thing I saw this thing on social media. It's so hard to tell nowadays, but it basically said that I think was it Mike Florio? I think it was Mike Florio who said somebody pulled out, or the Rams pulled out on the AJ Brown trade discussion because of concerns about the knee. A degenerative knee that's, no
we
good.
just saw it with Max Crosby. I don't think the Eagles would have traded him to the Rams. So I have a very difficult time thinking they would have traded him for the Rams to the Rams.
Yeah, here's our boy, Caden Steele, wrote the article about it. He says, Mike Florio said this: they were talking to the Eagles about AJ Brown. They got scared off by some of the, as I'm told, preliminary medical research. They decided too much of an investment for a player at this age, general wear and tear. We're not going to do it.
Yeah, I don't think it's that relevant because I don't think they would have moved him there. But look, he's had knee problems dating back to Tennessee. It's not any secret. And it's similar to Baltimore with Max Crosby getting cold feet. Everybody knew he had a knee problem. And they, in my assessment and I don't know, but my assessment with Baltimore is they figured out, hey, we can get Trey Hendrickson at this number, and we don't have to give up 2 first round picks. Not necessarily that they didn't think Max Crosby could recover from it, but whatever. I mean, yeah, he's been playing in the NFL. He's had a knee issue. That's well known. I don't think it's going to stop other teams, most notably New England, from going after him, and they've already gone after him pretty hard. So, and my bigger point about 2027 is, it's probably going to be a better first round pick in 2027 than it is in 2026 because they're picking 31st. So, all of that kind of stuff factors into it. But yeah, I don't think he's going to be back next year. And that can also trickle down to, well, you're paying a little bit more for that third wide receiver because he might be more than that third wide receiver. Not saying that Hollywood Brown's going to be the starter, but remember they were trying to sign Darnell Mooney before it was more expensive.
Right.
So
maybe they have a 2 and a 3 that cost $20 million collectively instead of a 1.
Exactly.
Yeah, right.
Exactly. So it all again, one move affects the other. It's not a vacuum, which I try to point out every time. But yeah, it's no secret that AJ's got a troublesome knee. It dates back to Tennessee, and he heard it here, and everybody's aware of that. And maybe that's why it's fair to say that's why, because Eagles fans think he should be worth 2 first round picks and this and that. And it's fair to say, well, maybe that limits some of that upside for coming back. Yeah, I think that's fair to say.
Yep, no doubt. We're going to talk a little bit more about that later on in the show today. I know people are tired of AJ, but there is a way to look at this where, I think me included are people, we might be missing something on AJ Brown. I'll bring that up a little bit later on in the show. Let's go to some super chats here. Wrap up our opening segment here on Birds 365. CZ, what's up, CZ? J-Mac, are you a Danhausen fan? He sells a lot of merch. Is that
Can't
the
stand
dude
him.
with the white?
Can't stand him. Stupidest gimmick in the history of the world. But he does sell a lot of merch because, people who buy merch tend to be goofballs. So, he makes money for them. My biggest criticism there's been goofy gimmicks in wrestling for the history, and I've hated every single one of them. I'm very consistent. Doesn't matter what company, where. Didn't like Danhausen in AEW. Don't like him in WWE. Stupid gimmick. Here's my test because, my wife, as she often will mock me for various things. She'll mock me for being a wrestling fan. Most women, let's be honest, don't like wrestling. They don't get it. And, sometimes if I'm watching it, she'll come across the TV and there'll be this stupid shit on like Danhausen. And I go, this is what you watch? And I'm like, you don't get it. I'm a fan of Brock Lesnar. I'm a fan of, great wrestlers. Yeah. Steve Austin, yada, yada, Bret Hart, yada, yada, yada. But they don't get it. And then they'll see Danhausen on the TV and you're like, you got to defend yourself. Yeah, I know it's stupid. I know this is stupid.
Danhausen's making it hard for you to justify to the wife the TV
it's just a stupid gimmick. But the one thing that WWE does better than AEW, they don't let that stupidness near the main eventers. And if they do, they're not going to be in the ring with a main eventer. And if they do, they're going to get squashed and they're going to get destroyed. So they have the sense of, all right, well, this guy can sell merchandise, so we'll use him to sell merchandise. So they do a good job with that. Orange Cassidy, and for those who listen to the show a long time, Jody's a big Orange Cassidy fan. I can't stand him. That's the difference. That's my criticism of my buddy Tony Khan. I consider him my buddy, even though he probably doesn't consider me his buddy anymore. They had a wrestler named Wardlow who was really hot, and they put him in the ring with Orange Cassidy, who's this stupid goofball that is based off the movie Wet Hot American Summer. People are fans of comedy, and David Wayne and Ken Marino and those guys. Based off the Paul Rudd character. Stupid gimmick. Goofball weighs about 180 pounds. They got him in there, and they got Wardlow slipping on banana peels. It's tangent day here on Birds 365. He's never been the same. People don't look at him the same because he's in there with this idiot selling for this idiot. That'd be like Brock Lesnar selling for Danhausen. WWE won't do that. Trust me. Won't do it. Keep the goofballs away.
A little rage on Danhausen. CZ, look what you've done here on a Football Friday of Birds 365.
Yeah. I mean, but, he sells money. He sells a lot of merchandise, so make money off him. That's fine. Just, don't put him on the segments when my wife is crossing the TV. It's embarrassing.
You cannot control it, John. Here's Sauce It Up Entertainment. Look at that name. I'm tired of the AJ nonsense, he says. I'm sure you are, brother.
I think we all are.
I know. I just what do you want?
Any of you were lying to you, were making shit up. Grow up. Nobody's making anything up.
Wait, what's the story you were telling me pre-show with Kevin Byard and AJ Brown hanging out, and they were on a show? And
well, Kevin and AJ are good friends. They played together in Tennessee. They've been friends for a long time. So they were working out together in the off season, probably in Nashville. I don't know that for a fact. Could be in Florida, but somebody put up pictures of those two working out together. Kevin signed with the Patriots, and he was on with Jordan Schultz. Is it Jordan? Yeah, Jordan Schultz.
Jordan, yep.
And they were about to do a little hit. And Jordan Schultz got a text and said, "Oh, hold on a minute. I got to report this." And it was Christian Kirk signing with the 49ers. And he told Byard, wide receiver signing, and Byard jumped up and said, "AJ," or something similar to that.
While he was hanging out with AJ, he said that.
No, he said it to Schultz. But I'm just so.
Yeah, right. That's the expectation of people is the point.
The expectation of somebody very close to AJ. That's to me is the difference.
Right.
It's not like they're working out together. He knows what's going on, and he perked up pretty quick. Is the point why I found it interesting. It's not concrete evidence of anything, but the thought around the league is that he's going to New England, and it's been that way for a while.
Fair enough. We'll see what happens. Sauce It Up Entertainment. Unfortunately for you, my friend, it ain't going anywhere. Okay. Here's Nick Gonzalez. What's up, Nick? Trade AJ, run wing, T Stone, Smart, Goddard, Carson, Steele, Barkley, and the legend Johnny Munt. F a wide receiver. Who's better, John, Steele or Ben Van Sumeren?
Well, Ben wasn't tendered, so he's unrestricted now. He can sign it anywhere. As far as I haven't seen Stone Smart. I didn't know who Stone Smart, full disclosure, was until yesterday. He's been in the league for 4 years. Good special teams player, but I'm not paying attention to Charger special teams work. He was with the Jets last year. So I have no idea what Stone Smart can do. He played quarterback in college, 3 different colleges. He's one of those guys who bounced around. But then he moved to wide receiver, then he moved to tight end because he's 6'4", 225-ish. So he's more of a flex tight end. But to me, he's a pure special teams player. And problem with that is you got to find a spot for him. In the old days, the Eagles would do that for the Brian Bremans and Chris Maragoses. They haven't been doing that as much. So how do you get on the 53 to help on special teams? That's the key. But, Yeah, I brought up, and contracts don't tell you everything, but they tell you a lot. And I'm telling you, don't use pencil when you're doing your 53s for both Grant Calcaterra and Johnny Munn, because their contracts will tell you they can be cut at any time with little impact.
Fair enough. Good stuff, Johnny Mac. Here's another super chat. Joey Shakes. What's up, Joey Shakes? Appreciate you being here, brother. He says, what's the plan at wide receiver if AJ is traded? Good show.
Well, we don't know the full plan, but we were just talking about it a little bit. They're paying Hollywood Brown way more than they typically are going to pay a third wide receiver, up to $6.5 million. They were trying to get Darnell Mooney, who was making more than that. He got 10. Who knows how high the Eagles wanted to go on that, but certainly higher than 6.5. So you could see sort of the framework of a plan, which I think would be more of, draft a wide receiver in the second round. There's a lot of wide receivers in this draft. And I say it all the time. If there's one thing college is producing, it's wide receivers. And if you look at last year's draft, there's a bunch of wide receivers that contributed that, were not first round picks. So obviously, Luther Burden, somebody like that. If you think back to last year's draft, who I think is going to be a really good player, and made the Bears comfortable enough to trade DJ Moore, who's still a pretty good player. But so I'm going down the list. Jaden Higgins was a second round pick from Houston. These are just second round picks. Luther Burden, who I just spoke about, may be the best. Trey Harris with the Chargers, who made some plays. Jack Beck with the Raiders. The Raiders are the Raiders, but he's got some talent. Was a second round pick. Then you go to the third round. Kyle Williams contributed to the Patriots last year. Isaac Tesla, who I love, with the Detroit Lions. Pat Bryant with Denver contributed. These are third round picks. Jalen Noel with the Texans contributed. Again, if there's one thing, Stavion Williams with the Packers, also a good player. Third round picks. All they do is develop receivers at the college level now.
Yep.
So if you look at guys like Zachariah Branch from Georgia, could be a second round pick. Chris Bell from Louisville could be a second round pick. Skylar Bell, and Chris Bell would have been a first round pick, but he tore his ACL. Skylar Bell from UConn. Jeremy Bernard, Zander's guy, I assume, because he's from Alabama. Malachi Fields, if you want that big body, from Notre Dame. Elijah Sarrett, another big body guy from Indiana, the other Indiana receiver. And the Eagles have already looked at Omar Cooper on a 30 visit. So, bunch of wide receivers. So I think if you look at it more of a layered approach, say you draft Chris Bell, because I think he's got the biggest upside, and you have Hollywood Brown, well, then you have a more layered 2-3 situation behind Devontae Smith, and that's how you would go about it, would be my best guess.
Agreed. Joey Shakes, good question, brother. Appreciate that. Here's Real Zeal. What's up, Real Zeal? J-Mac, say his name and he appears. Do you believe in Joe Hendry?
Can't stand him. Can't stand. Not as bad as Danhausen, but no, don't like the gimmick.
Why? Gimmick?
It's fine.
Is it? I mean, John, I'm not trying to disrespect, but isn't all of wrestling kind of a gimmick? I mean, I'm not knocking it. It's an entertainment business.
Well,
that a lot of ratings, but
yes and no. I mean, yes and no, but I mean, usually the main eventers have more credibility. Like you could say Rock, Dwayne Johnson, obviously tremendous personality, tremendous entertainer, tremendous promo. But at bottom line, he could go in the ring. Main eventers nowadays have to be able to go in the ring. So guys like like Bret Hart and Steve Austin. That's where it started. Shawn Michaels, maybe number one, was also very entertaining. And then you sort of morphed in, like Mankind. Mick Foley was a stupid gimmick, but he overcame it to be a legitimate main eventer because he was great. So yeah, there's a lot of gimmicks. It's but in the case of Joe Hendry, he's fine. He's not a goofball like Danhausen, but he's a legitimate wrestler. He's just not that good, in my opinion. So to me, he's limited from that aspect, but he's got a good gimmick. So, and he's credible at least. He's in shape and so he's somewhat credible. So there's levels. He's not terrible, but to me, he's never going to reach the top. Is what I'm trying to say.
Yep. Good stuff, Zeal. Appreciate it, man. Appreciate you being here today. Here's another super chat. Big one. Vitality. Thank you, man. $20 super chat. He says this. I had a house fire, lithium ion battery. Holy moly, man. That's legit stuff, man. There's these lithium ions. They're getting big and a lot of use for them. So, geez, Vitality. Hope everything's all right. I had a house fire, lithium ion battery a few weeks ago. I DM'd and exchanged numbers with Eagles legend Bryce Huff for advice. His company focuses on that. Thought you'd find that interesting. Small world. Bryce is a good dude. Yeah, he just started a company.
Good for Bryce. Good. Yeah, good. Yeah, Bryce is a good dude. I'm glad. Yeah, and I'm glad to see he's made he made a lot of money in a short career. Still had a decent year. I'm surprised he walked away, but maybe he's passionate about that company. Good to hear it.
Yeah, I know. Doesn't his brother do something really cool? Remember we talked about that in the past before. His brother has this badass company too, doesn't he? Bryce Huff.
Possibly. Huh? I don't recall it off the top of my head.
Yeah, his brother Jordan. I think his brother Jordan Huff. Yeah, Neighbor Stone it's called or something. Neighbor. Yeah, it's nanomaterials. I remember talking about it because my brother studied nanoscience, so he knows nano really well. He has a company.
Bryce is a smart dude.
Yeah,
he's a very smart dude.
His brother is clearly too, because nanomaterials is some in-depth stuff.
Yeah, good to see people have passion outside of football. Because he made a lot of money. He can get out. He's healthy, relatively, I would assume. So. A lot of guys don't have options. So they got to keep playing as long as they can. It's always good to see somebody who have, success outside of football.
Vitality, you got to DM me that story, man. First off, I hope you and your family and everybody are okay. And it wasn't, so severe that there was major damage or anything, but I am interested in that story. I got more lithium ion batteries than I probably should. So I'm curious what happened and how we can prevent these things from happening, obviously. So, Vitality, thanks for the super chat, brother. Appreciate you being here. John, I'm going back to A.J. Brown, but I'm not going back to A.J. Brown to talk about the trade. I know. John, are we in delusion about A.J. Brown? Are his best days just behind him? Would the Eagles be right to trade him at this point? $32 million, 29 years old, 2 straight years of way dipped numbers, missed 6 regular season games in the last 2 seasons, dropping passes left and right, at the end of the season there, something we've never seen.
I think that's a stretch left and right.
What do you mean? He jumped he's bitching at Jalen Hurts to throw him the ball. Jalen said, all right, here's the ball in the playoffs. And AJ lets it go through the hands.
I got people shitting on me for daring to say that T.O. shouldn't be in the conversation with Jared Rice and Randy Moss because of how much he drops the football, and he dropped it, 17 times one season, more than 10 times for 8 seasons. I got these people telling me AJ drops the football too much. Come on.
That's what I said. I'm saying that the trend is that the drops have increased.
Look, you're going to hear when he does get traded, you're going to hear all those stories. That's going to be the spin. Don't buy that spin. Look, he wasn't happy. You talk about reduced production. I mean, they shifted their offense dramatically. And by shifted, I don't mean style. I mean, they leaned on Saquon Barkley. When Saquon got here, they shifted. And they obviously didn't throw it as much. So people say, well, Jalen Hurts.
Do you think AJ's the same exact player then? You don't think there's any sort of
well, no, not necessarily. I'm saying, there might be slight slippage, just natural aging that happens in the NFL, but he's still a big time wide receiver in this league. And they're not replacing him on the field with Hollywood Brown and Chris Bell, if that, to use my example. Certainly not in the short term.
He's not going to be AJ Brown.
Certainly not in the short term. Is it fair to say he's not what he was at his height? Yeah, maybe. There are the knee is troublesome. There have been some hamstring issues as well. Happens to everybody. But I would not be surprised if he goes to New England and has a big year at all, because he's going to be motivated and he's going to hear some of those stories that the Eagles did the right thing and this and that. And by the way, I will also point out the Eagles don't want to trade him. They don't want to trade him. If there weren't other issues,
but they don't want to trade him, not because they don't want to trade him because it's a cap nightmare for the Eagles, and they're not going to get back the value for the player.
Well, that's part of it, but they wouldn't be thinking about trading the player if there was no cap nightmare, if there weren't other issues. So, in other words, if this were the final year of his deal, they wouldn't be thinking about trading him. They'd be thinking about working out an extension, because they still think he's a big-time player. Now, that will change. You will hear the news, and they'll spin it the way they spin it. I'm saying take that with a grain of salt.
I don't know if it's spin. Wait, so John, do you think AJ's best days are behind him? Yes or no?
No, I think he'll have a massive year this year in New England. That's certainly better than his past 2 years here. So if you look at it that way, no. I mean, if he's healthy and in New England, I guarantee he produces more than he's produced the last 2 years in Philadelphia, just simply from the style of offense. I guarantee it.
I'm not trying to say he's not a great player. The only thing I'm saying is we're paying $32 million, and I don't know if he's.
Look, I've seen that.
Maybe it's smart, John, to get rid of him.
I've seen this shift in real time, because people are starting to really first come to Jesus moment, and you think, you know what, he's probably not going to be back.
You're right about that. Eagle fans are turning on AJ for sure.
So they got to brace themselves.
Me included.
They got to figure it out, and they got to spin it to make themselves move forward. The Eagles love the player. If he wasn't a pain in the you-know-what with the social media stuff, there would be no issues. None. Zero. Nada. At times, Nick, depending on the day, because sometimes he'll say Lane Johnson, sometimes he'll say A.J. Brown, will tell you he's the best player he's ever coached. But yeah, there you have it. So yeah, people are going to make up their narrative.
You're not buying my narrative that maybe AJ's best days are in the rear view mirror.
Again, that he's getting to the age where that could be the case, and you won't even know it. But what I will say, statistically, he will be better next season in New England, if he's in New England. That's an easy bet if he stays healthy, because the Eagles didn't throw the football over the past 2 years effectively, or volume wise, which is part of the reason why he's wants to go in a different direction. The reason, to be honest.
Well, like you say, John, receivers are a dime a dozen in the NFL. They're producing They're producing so many receivers they don't know what to do with.
No,
Well, here we got a guy who's making 32 and he's not catching the ball in the playoffs.
Competent receivers, I said. You should be able, but you have to go about it a different way.
How many drops did A.J. Brown have in the playoff game after whining and moaning all year, and then Jalen puts the ball in his hands and he drops it? How many times did that happen? 3? 4?
I don't know what they credited.
That game pissed me off. I'm not going to lie to
you. Well, the game should have pissed you off for more reasons than A.J. Brown.
Yes, and it did for more reasons than that.
Again, I think the defense got to because the defense had a good season, so I think people gave them a pass. I don't think they played well either. He was credited with 2 drops, and which is huge for him. But again, you got the same. I can't take that seriously when you got the same people jumping on their sword for T.O. because he played one good season in Philadelphia. The guy has not had a history of drops. But yeah, I've said it pretty consistently. At times he lost focus because he was frustrated, and he can't do that. I mean, I'm not defending it. By the way, the Eagles combined for 4 drops on 3rd down, their most in 20 years in that game. So there were other drops as well. Yeah, they played a shitty game. Boy, that was a bad loss, man. Bad loss. Bad against a team that shouldn't have been there. From a standpoint, look, they're a good team, San Francisco, but they were just so banged up. So many injuries that they shouldn't have been in that game. It was a terrible loss. So, and it was not a good game by A.J. Brown. It was not a good game by so many players. But I mean, to dismiss what he did in Philadelphia, oof, you're talking yourself into some shit.
I'm not dismissing what he did. I'm saying that
I don't say what he did. I shouldn't put it in the past yet. It's not done officially. I think it will be done.
I'm not dismissing what. I'm not
and
dismissing.
By the way, if for some reason it doesn't work out and Howie stays stubborn, and he's got a history of being stubborn, and he's back, the same people will be re-embracing him and yelling at people like me who were telling him, "Oh, you guys were just lying. He's the greatest receiver." Same people.
I love J-Man. I like when you mock us. I think it's funny. All right, so you should.
Well, you know it's true. That's what's going to happen.
I do know it's true, but at the end of the day, I am looking at this like, hey, maybe we have turned a blind eye though. I mean, look. The reason I have concerns is because we've talked a lot about defense the last couple of weeks because of the departures and because of obviously the holes on the roster when it comes to the defensive side of the ball. I'll ask you a simple question and we'll run through the whole offense right now. Are A.J. Brown's best days behind him, yes or no?
Well, by the average fan's view, no, because he's going to have a better year offensively better year catching the football statistically in New England.
Well, so, how long? 1 year? He's got what? 1 year of that, maybe 2 years of that? How long do you expect him to do that?
If he's got 1,400 yards and 10 touchdowns, so you think people are going to say, well, he didn't round off his routes as well. That might be the case.
Are Saquon Barkley's best days behind him?
Probably, but look at what his best days were.
Yeah, but they're gone. I'm focused on 2026. I'm not focused on 2024 anymore.
Well, my only point is you can't replicate a 2,005-yard season.
I agree.
You can, in theory, you can, but I mean, there's no law that says you can't, but it's just extremely unlikely. Can AJ replicate his best season? Yes, I think he could.
Are Landon Dickerson's best days behind him?
Yes.
Cam Jurgens?
Nah, I don't think necessarily.
Lane Johnson?
It's hard to tell. Lane was playing every bit as well as he normally does before he got hurt. So, at 36,
he's like the cyborg of the team. He's like Super.
I mean, I can't say. Obviously, at his age, you would just presume that he's not going to have his best season. So, but he's still. It wouldn't shock me at all if he plays at an all-pro level, which, again, depending on your definition, is it going to be at the height of his career? Probably not. So I guess to answer your question literally, yeah, it's probably his best days are behind him because of his age.
Goddard's best days behind him,
Yeah,
and our Jalen Hurts' best days behind him.
not necessarily.
I agree with that. All right, well, that's a lot of players, John.
Well, all I talked about was
rearview mirror.
All I talked about was the descent of the players on the offense, who everybody thinks are in a stasis and never, are the same.
No, and hey, maybe it's you who's convinced me to see the light that maybe it makes some sense for the Eagles to pick up a future first-round draft pick and get rid of one of the declining expensive players and reallocate those assets and those resources to other parts of the team. I don't think it's
I would say the team doesn't think he's declining. Number one. Number two, again, it doesn't make sense from a business perspective, which is a big part of it.
I think that's the only part of it.
No, but it's a big part of it. I mean, if for some reason, they got to the final year of the deal, again, they wouldn't be thinking about trading him. So it's not the only reason. They think the player is very good. And if they could make up and they could get him to get back on board, they would. I don't think they can. So I think that's the bigger reason. I've said from the start pretty consistently, this is about, if AJ's going to go, it's about him not buying in. It's about him, nothing else.
But my point is that we're closer. The Eagles are closer to having to retool the offensive side of the ball than any point they've been in the last 4 years. So if AJ Brown has made this much of a stink, his numbers are in the decline here in Philly. I don't really care what he might do in New England. I'm talking about in Philly. They're on the decline.
Well, in theory,
you can get a first-round pick. What gives you a better chance to retool when that day inevitably comes, which might be in the next year, 6 months, 12 months, 18 months, however you want to look at it? Keeping AJ or grabbing a first-round pick and letting him go and play his last, couple years in New
it's the same. I mean, again, that you can spin it after it happens, and a lot of people are going to take that tact. Same thing with when we talk about Jalen Carter. Would you rather have Jordan Davis, Mora Jomo, and 2 first-round picks if you can pull that off? It's a legitimate conversation. I'm not saying it's not a legitimate conversation. I'm saying the Eagles don't want to talk about retooling or rebuilding. They want to win right now.
Trading 26-year-old, trading Michael Parsons for the Cowboys is not.
Well, the Cowboys are dumb.
I'm just saying, if the Eagles were to trade Jalen Carter for 2 ones, that is an entirely different thing than trading a receiver who's 29 years old and potentially on the decline. I think he's on the decline.
Well, yeah, but you didn't when you thought he was coming back. I don't want to pick on you, but you didn't when you thought he was coming back.
Dropping balls in the playoff game. I think you got mad at me. Remember, you told me the defense was the reason they lost.
Well, and one of the reasons
we're going at it. You two against me. It was a triangulation situation.
Well, and one of the reasons is the late hands, which I bring up, which and drops are not an exact science, but and again, when late hands works, everything's copacetic, and when it doesn't, why is he not trying? And I only bring that up because I got to cover Randy and I got Randy Moss and I got to cover AJ, and they both talked about it and they both constantly explained what they do. And then when it doesn't work, people act like it's a surprise, and people act like, and I went through this with Randy, forget about AJ. I went through the same thing. Well, he's not trying. No, he's trying to not alert the defensive back that the football's coming. And AJ does the same thing. All great receivers do.
Is that more important than catching the football? I mean, catch the ball 3 times in the playoff game. I mean, if you want to say, okay, it's because of late hands, well, then get the hands up early. I mean, the point is to catch the ball.
The point is, if you get up the late hands early, the defensive back is going to break it up.
Presumably, is that as bad as the drop? I mean, he dropped it. So what's the fucking difference if the defensive back swats it or he drops it?
Well, did you enjoy it when it worked?
I did. I'm not saying you're wrong about how good he's been in the past. It might be smart to move him now.
Look, when some of the best NFL receivers of all time are explaining late hands to you, and you're going to go, well, isn't it more important to catch the football? I mean, they're doing it for a purpose. They're not doing it to show off. They're doing it because it gives you a better opportunity to catch the football and complete the catch. More importantly,
all right. So
they're doing it purposefully.
All right. So he made the right move, putting the hands up late. The part he missed was the actual part of catching the ball.
Look, I just think it's hilarious. After what he's done for this organization, what he's done to this team. I think it's hilarious.
Don't give me that, though.
I think it's hilarious.
What am I supposed to do? Live permanently in 2023 and 2022, John? I mean, come on.
No, but you were living differently 4 weeks ago when you thought he was coming back.
Well, now he's got Albert Breer saying to everybody he wants a new quarterback. I think first off, I think he went Judas mode and slighted his quarterback, which I thought was below the waist. But I digress on that.
I don't know what Albert reported, but
we talked about it on the show. He was on his podcast. He said AJ wants a new system with a new quarterback that throws the ball more.
I've been telling you that for 3 years.
Yeah, but it's one thing when you tell me it. It's another thing when his agent clearly goes out there and is saying it to people. You know,
well, it's no surprise. Look, if you talk to Jamar Chase about Jake Browning, or you talk to Justin Jefferson about JJ McCarthy. And I'm not trying to, and Jalen Hurts is much better than those quarterbacks, but they're obviously going to be frustrated. I think people understand that because those are not good quarterbacks. I think people understand that. Now, Jalen is a good quarterback, but he's a different style of quarterback that we talk about all the time. And it's not a high volume thrower. So yes, AJ has always been desirous to play with a high volume thrower who puts the football, in positions where it's supposed to be at certain times. Is how I would describe it. The Matthew Staffords of the world, the Joe Burrows of the world, yada, yada, yada. Who cares? You know, so what? So what? He would say the same thing about, Tanner McKee for different reasons. He would say the same thing about Andy Dalton for different reasons because they can't do certain things. Hey, when you got a high level receiver and they're open and that ball's not there, they're going to be pissed off. I'd rather have that than have the receivers shrinking violent and doesn't want the football. I've said
that's fine. I don't disagree with that point, but on the same side, in the other area, I mean, when you have a quarterback in a high leverage moment and he puts the ball in the receiver, in the receiver's area.
Look, AJ's got
to catch the ball, and he's got a right to be pissed if he doesn't. AJ let him down too.
I think AJ's got plenty of shit for dropping balls in that game. I think if I'm mistaken.
Is there any world that exists, John, where you think it would be a smart move?
T.O. can't get shit for dropping balls, but AJ can.
That's why I use that, though, because you ripped T.O. for dropping balls. I'm like, all right, let me use A.J. Brown's drops.
Believe me, if AJ drops 17 balls in the season, I'll be ripping the shit out of him. Believe me.
Which I don't think he would, but if he kept the pace in the playoff game, he would, for crying out loud. 3 in a playoff game.
Oh, yeah, if he kept that pace up, 2. But if he kept that pace up, he'd be the worst receiver in football, and I'd be ripping the shit out of him.
Wasn't it 3? It was 3, John.
Well, he was credited with 2.
Credited with 2? Oh, darn.
Yeah.
I thought he was credited with 3.
I just looked it up. He was
Yeah, I
officially
looked it up and
credited
said
with
2
2.
or 3, right?
Yeah. But officially he was credited with 2. So whether you consider next gen stats, which is what they usually use, or PFF, officially with 2. They're going to be probably a little bit more cognizant of than fans are. Think, well, he got his hands on it. That's a drop. Type of thing.
So you've laughed at the trade proposal from the Rams. I know you don't want to help the Rams, but man, that 14th overall pick sounds good, John McMullen.
I didn't see the trade proposal from the Rams.
No, I know, but the speculated.
I don't believe for a second the Rams would give up the 14th pick for A.J. Brown. Now, if you're talking about 23 and A.J. Brown for the 14th pick, which I assume is what people would be talking about, and maybe there's some trash around that, as you know, moving up in the 3rd or 4th round, vice versa, or even later. I assume you'd be giving up 23 and AJ to get to 14. You want to do that? I don't know.
Nah, 23. No.
That's what I assume would take to get 14. And I don't think this is the draft to go up to 14, because again, I think this draft is what did Ian Cummings call it? A bell curve.
Yeah.
Not strong at the top, and it gets stronger in that 40 to 100 range.
Yeah, that middle range.
Yeah. So, but on the other hand, if you like, who would the receivers? Carnell Tate's not going to be there, but if for some reason he fell, Jordan Tyson from Arizona State. If you believe, and those would be the only 2, I would think. Maybe Mekhi Lemon. So those are the 3. If you think they're going to be superstars, maybe it becomes more relevant. But I don't know. And it's not fair. I haven't seen enough Jordan Tyson. I've seen quite a bit of Carnell Tate. I think he's going to be good.
Yeah.
I haven't seen a ton of Lemon. So, but are they going to be A.J. Brown? Again, if you're playing, A.J. was a 2nd round pick. If you're playing the odds, probably not. So, I don't know. But mainly, I dismiss the Rams for the simple reason that I don't think Howie wants.
Okay, how about my premise? Do you dismiss my premise that A.J. Brown might be on the decline? I mean, John, in a way, I know you might be mad at me for changing in the last 4 weeks, which I admit I have. But
I said it's
me
possible.
This all year. You kept saying to me, "I think you might be overrating the offense, Zander."
Oh, no question about
on the
it.
offense. Well, is A.J. Brown not a part of that?
Well, again, and what have I also said? I said, I think the Eagles are going to be better on offense, not because of the shift of Sean Mannion to Kevin Patullo, because
That's true.
So many guys have had down years. They're going to be ultra focused, have better years. Now, in the case of Landon Dickerson, he might be so unhealthy that doesn't matter. But everybody else, I think they're going to be motivated. I think Saquon's motivated. I think Jalen's motivated. I think AJ would be motivated. Even Devontae Smith, who I think he's the one who maintained. I think he's going to be motivated. Dallas Goedert as a blocker, I think, is going to be motivated. Jordan Mailata, I know, thinks he had a poor season, even though he didn't. And compared to the year prior, he did. He wasn't as good. But he's motivated. I already know he's motivated from speaking to him.
Boy, that's a lot hanging on motivation, John. Motivation.
Well, I think it's natural. No, I think it's completely natural with athletes coming off down years.
Yeah, I think that's fair. That part of it is fair.
It happens all the time. Guys have down years and then they bounce back. Now, again, what also happens all the time is people hit the wall. And I'm not saying, I'm saying from a fan standpoint, here's what I'm So from a purely, we'll use Jeff Kerr, my buddy Jeff Kerr. From a purely statistical standpoint, he's going to be better wherever he is next year. If he's healthy, obviously you got to play. So he always put in. So from their perception, he's going to be better because he's going to have a better year statistically. Might he be worse? Technically, yeah, sure. He's getting to that age where there's a little bit of a drop off, and he already had a drop off last year. But if you go by PFF, he's the 15th best receiver in football. Well, that's not good for him. That's good for most people. He wasn't shit last year.
But it's fair to wonder if he's a declining player based on what we've seen. No or yes?
Well, again, I just explained it. Statistically, no, he's going to be better. Might he be declining?
You're projecting that, though.
Well, I said it. If he's healthy, statistically, he's going to be better. Of course, it's a projection. Well, why wouldn't he be? He's going to go to an offense that throws the football more.
Not because I'm not sold that the grass is greener like AJ thinks.
Hell, it might not be the grass might not be greener from a winning perspective. That's fair.
I don't think it's greener on a production perspective either.
Oh, over the past 2 years? Are you kidding me? Well, I'm not talking about 2022. I'm talking about the past 2 years with
That's
Saquon.
fine. Every great receiver has down year. They all of them. Go look at Jamar Chase's years. There's years where he has 1,000 yards. Go look at Justin Jefferson's. His numbers dip in certain years. You're not going to have career highs every year, like you always say.
Their dips are directly related to who's playing quarterback. Justin Jefferson doesn't have dips until J.J. McCarthy showed up.
When Joe Burrow went down, I remember. Yeah. Wait. When Joe Burrow went down, John, Jamar Chase got 23 targets in one game. You remember this. I'm sure you do. Joe Flacco, 16 catches on 23 targets the game after Joe Burrow went down.
Yeah, well, Joe's a high-volume thrower. But look at Jake Browning.
That wasn't Joe Burrow who threw the ball to him.
I said, look at Jake Browning. I'm not talking about high-volume throwers.
Well, Jake Browning is a different story.
I'm talking about high-volume throw. Joe Flacco's a high-volume thrower, even at 100 years old. He slings the football. And by the way, if Joe Flacco could play 17 games as a starter, AJ would put up massive numbers. They wouldn't be good as a team, but his numbers would be good. That's why I'm not a stat guy, but his numbers would be good. But if you look at the big-time receivers, their numbers vary depending on who the quarterback is. And to a certain degree here, it had to do with, more of Saquon Barkley's impact on the offense.
But even with that being the reason, John, it still illustrates the point fine of the grass isn't always greener. Like guys who have the quarterbacks, they still have fluctuation because you never know what's going to happen. You never know.
Usually when guys get hurt.
Point about the grass isn't greener. Like in theory, in AJ's mind, he goes to this passing offense and he gets 1,800 yards and 145 targets and 100 catches. All right, good luck. Maybe from a winning standpoint, I think it's I'm pretty confident to say he's not going to win as much. From a statistical standpoint, over the past 2 years, I'm pretty confident he's going to do better. Same thing. I don't maintain that confidence, but that's fair. Fair to disagree. Agree to disagree, Mr. Johnny Mac.
Well, what are we talking? Drake May plays 17 games. AJ Brown plays the same amount of games. What did he play? 15?
15 last year. Yep.
So if I force you to say, so that's the number. Drake May plays every game. AJ plays 15. You take an over/under on 1,000 and whatever yards he had, 4, whatever.
Well, he's averaging in 4 years in Philly around 1,250 a season.
Well, I'm not talking about 22 and 23.
I'm talking about the average in the last 4 years. I think that's a fair way to look at it.
I don't think it is fair at all.
Okay,
I'll give you 2
Drake
years.
threw for 4,400 yards last year, and his top receiver had 1,000 yards. What makes you think he's going to go there and walk into 1,800 yards? There's nothing to indicate that.
I didn't say he was going to get 1,800 yards.
1,500, 1,400, whatever the case may be.
I didn't say that's why. I said the past. If you want to go to past 2 years, I'll give it to you, because that's when the frustrations were born out of, when they went to this ultra super conservative, super risk averse, because of the presence of Saquon Barkley. Not Saquon's fault. It worked. They won a Super Bowl, but that is the demarcation line. I don't think you have any problems other than the occasional, maybe bad game where they'll say something on social media that you quickly get over to the next thing that happens. If he's at 1,400 yards, I don't think you have any problems. The shift came when they went to this super risk averse run first offense due to the presence of Saquon Barkley, which again was the right thing to do.
I can't dispute that. That's the obvious. My whole point is, I don't think the grass is as green as he thinks. What's he crying this much for? What, an extra 250 yards? Good. That's good. Good.
Well, great. I don't care if people have to talk themselves into him leaving. That's fine. That's fine. That's up to the individual person. But I mean, I think if I forced you to bet, you'd take the over, on 1,000 and whatever it was, you'd take the over. So in theory, from a fan standpoint, he's going to get better from last season. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he'll take the under. 15 games with Drake May throwing the quarterback. I'll ask you again. What, you taking the over or under?
On 1,000 yards for AJ?
Yeah.
In New England?
Yeah.
I'll take the over, but not by much. And that's my point. I mean, all right, good. You want 100 extra yards? All this stink for 100 extra yards?
Well, technically, then he's getting better from a fan standpoint. That's all I'm saying. It's going to be better. 15 games, I would say 12, 1,300, 17, you're probably up in the 14, 15 range.
And he'll fall right in the average of what he's accomplished in Philadelphia. I mean, that's,
not over the past 2 years.
Not over the past 4. I use 4, you use 2. We each use numbers that fit our narrative better. That's kind of what you do.
No, mine's not a narrative. Mine's the truth. Yours is the narrative.
Why is yours the truth and not a narrative? You're going up only the last 2 years.
Because I know why he's upset. I literally know why he's upset.
So he doesn't.
That's why.
So he doesn't like Saquon Barkley then.
No, he's got. Again, it's not Saquon Barkley's fault. It's the frustration of playing in this style of offense. I can't. Like I always say, I can't. If people don't want to believe the people that are there, I can't force them to believe. But it's not a narrative.
But he had no problem with the offense 2 year ago, right? Or 3 years ago, whenever it was now.
No, he's had issues at times for certain games and just because of the type of personality he has. And he's always been desirous of playing with, again, a high volume thrower. It's not a narrative. But if their offense is more like 2022, even 2023, he's okay with it. I'm not saying he's thrilled, but there's a big difference between 2022, 2023, 2024, 2025. And people can't see that. I can't help them. I mean,
I can see it for sure. I just don't think it's worth putting up a hissy fit.
Well, that's a different conversation. I mean, there's people who think that mentality of, well, you're just a player, you get paid this, shut up.
Yeah, but it is a part. I agree with you. That's a different conversation, but that is a part of the big pie of why we're even having this discussion about AJ Brown in the first place, is because he's having a hissy fit and he wants to leave. So Howie's going to acquiesce because it's a fucking nightmare to deal with.
Well, yeah, and that again, yeah, that's okay to criticize him for that. Feel free, go full bore. But you're talking about a big time player is going to be motivated to perform, go into a situation he wants to be in.
A hissy fit for an extra 200 yards. Come on, AJ. It's like fucking ridiculous.
Now who's projecting? Last year. Now who's projecting? You're assuming it's 200 yards. Now who's projecting?
All right, fair enough. I'm projecting. I mean, I'm looking at the numbers though. I mean, do you think Drake May has as good of a year next year as he did last year?
I don't think the Patriots are going to be very good. And I said from a standpoint of I think they were the Washington Commanders of 2020.
Wow, that's big. Because
but by that I mean they shouldn't have been in that game.
Yes.
Let's be honest.
I know what you mean.
If Bo Nix is healthy, they're not in that game. Let's be honest. Jarrett Stidham almost beat them in the championship game. They were probably a year ahead of schedule. I'm not saying they're going to be a bad team. Washington turned into a bad team because Jaden Daniels got hurt. That could happen to New England if Drake May gets hurt and doesn't play the vast majority of the season. Even with him playing 17 games, I do not think they're going to be as good as they were perceived as this year because they made the Super Bowl. I don't think they're making the Super Bowl. But again, that has nothing to do with the statistics, which, if he's out there for 17 games, he's a high volume thrower. He's a deep ball thrower. He's going to get numbers. Doesn't mean it's going to be successful, but he's going to get numbers.
Yeah. All right. So AJ just wants his numbers to be a little bit higher. All right, it is what it is. All right, John. I know you were mad at me for bringing up the AJ Brown, but at least we had a different conversation today on it, didn't we? At least it was a different angle, right?
Look, I know people got to talk themselves in. Look, if he comes back, be careful too, because Howie's stubborn, man, and he showed it with Zach Ertz.
Yeah, he is stubborn.
And if he doesn't get what he wants, and he comes back, you got to get back on board. So I'm on
board. I've never been off board. I'm saying
I'm not only talking to you, I'm talking to all the fans who are turning on him.
I'm not turning on him. I'm just saying, when you really look at the whole pie, AJ, the whole value of AJ is rapidly declining quick. The cost benefit analysis is changing. The variables have changed in the soup. And I think you have to consider them all. If he comes back, obviously we have a good receiver, but I hope he doesn't stink up to the point where he drops balls on Jalen Hurts again because he's lack of focus, because he's pissed off because Saquon Barkley got to run the ball last game. That's what I hope. I hope when a big crunch time moment comes and Jalen puts the ball up to him to trust his receiver, he makes the damn catch. That's what I hope.
Well, I think if you want to go over 4 years, it's funny. You like to go 4 years when you want to go 4 years, but then you go down to one game. Everybody has bad games.
I'm gauging whether the player's declining. That's
everybody has bad games. If you want to go again, if you look at the defense in that game, Jalen Phillips didn't do anything. I still think he's a good player. That's football. It will humble you. Everybody from AJ Brown has been the best pure Eagles football player for the last 2-3 years. From him on down, everybody has bad games in the NFL. Everybody. Nobody's immune to it. But over that 4-year frame, the Eagles have never had a better wide receiver. Never.
Fair enough. All right, everybody. Good conversation there on AJ Brown. We'll see what ends up happening with AJ Brown and the Philadelphia Eagles. All right. I'm not sold yet that they're trading him or not, but it does seem that there is quite a bit of smoke there, Mr. Johnny Mac. And good conversation there. Let's go to some super chats. Then we'll wrap it up today with some draft talk for the Philadelphia Eagles. Appreciate all you guys being here. Don't forget to hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you're not already. We appreciate all of the great people on Birds 365. Here's Bed Stoy. J-Mac, any insight on the Christian Wilkins story? I don't even know what he's talking
No. Well, there's a rumor about why Christian Wilkins hasn't been signed. I don't know if it's true or not, so really don't want to address it. But was a good player.
What's the speculated story? Can you just give us what the speculated? I don't even know what it is.
It's
goofy, right?
Yeah, I don't want to say it because I don't know if it's true. If I, what I can tell you, what I can tell you is he was investigated by the Raiders HR department for some accusation. Evidently he claims he was trying to be playful. He was joking around, and somebody claimed he tried to do something.
Tried to kiss him, right? Kiss a teammate or something?
Yeah, well, you said it, so yes. Look, I find it very hard to believe that Christian Wilkins, and look, I don't know if he's who cares about his sexual proclivity, but I would imagine he's not trying to kiss somebody in the locker room in a passionate manner, unless he's got mental health issues. So he claims it was playful, and obviously they took it in a different way. And that's what's going on with Christian Wilkins.
Interesting story there on Christian Wilkins. We'll see if he returns. All right. What's the phrase the people use nowadays? No Diddy. Come on, Wilkins. Here's John. I say send AJ and Tanner to the Jets for 2 1s and a 3. Holy shit. All right. Yeah. John, you're on that you're on that good weed today or whatever it's the Stephen A line. Stay off the weed.
Yeah. You got a declining player and a backup quarterback, and you wanted 2 1s. You want 2 1s and a 3. I don't think you're getting that.
No, you're not getting that. Come on, John. Here's Big Mike. What's up, Big Mike? Member for 5 months. He says, the one who should have been crying and wanting to go somewhere else is Barkley. Being hit behind the line 2 out of 3 carries last season, not AJ. Oh, come on, Big Mike. Guy ran for 2,500 a year prior.
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, it's fair to say Saquon didn't have a lot of help. Saquon, I'll tell you this about Saquon. Ultimate pro. You're never going to hear him complain about anything. So, I mean, from the standpoint of the fan mentality of shut up and do your job, like he's going to shut up and do his job, even if things aren't going to his desire. And he probably wasn't happy with the blocking at times last year, but it's also who probably realizes better than anyone else what the 2024 season did to that offensive line from a physical perspective.
Yeah. Yep. That's fair to point out for sure. Big Mike, thank you, brother. Appreciate your super chat. Gary becoming a member. Gary, thanks for re-upping, my friend. Appreciate you, man. New member in the fold. Here's Gary again with a super chat. Gary, thank you, man. He says this. John won't like this, but I don't care. AJ isn't on the decline. He dropped those balls on purpose, knowing it'll be easier for that relationship to end. That's right up AJ's mentality. I don't want to believe it, but it's true.
Well, I like the conspiracy theory, at least. No, I don't think he dropped the balls on purpose. But
I don't think he dropped them on purpose, but I do think this, John. I'm going to read you something, all right? I am going to read you something. I don't think he did it on purpose. That's not what I'm saying at all. I'm going to read you something. Ready?
Shoot.
Lance Zierlein in AJ's weakness scouting profile before the NFL draft, when he was drafted, I believe in 2019 was he drafted, I think it was, or whenever it was. One of the sentences says this: drops appear when focus declines.
I think that's exactly what happened.
Right. That's what I think happened. Which is, to me, unacceptable. Dude, that's bullshit.
John,
how many times have you woke up in the morning and you say, I do not fucking feel like dealing with Zander's bullshit today on Birds 365. But you show the fuck up and you do it because you're a grown man who's got a job and you do your job.
Well,
Stopping balls because you're mad that you're not getting the catches you want is bullshit.
Well, yeah, but that's the presumption. Like, maybe I had to watch Danhausen last night. And I'm pissed off about it. And you go up and you show up and you do your job in a professional way, but you don't have your best day every day.
That's fair.
Again, the idea, name any of your favorite players. And they had bad games. Every single one of them.
So he conveniently had a bad game in the biggest moment of the season. I find.
Well, I don't think
this is where Gary's tinfoil hat might make a little sense.
I mean, it's not the best time to have it. But is anyone going to argue with that? I mean, do people think players don't have bad games?
No, I think they obviously do. I don't think anybody's saying that, but it's coincidentally it happened at not a very good time.
Well, that's true. And I'm just looking it up because I'm looking up his history. Chargers game, December 25, he had 3 drops, including a potential.
Was that the 5 interception game?
I don't know.
Was it 5 interceptions or 4 interceptions with a fumble?
4 with a fumble.
4 with a fumble.
So, and a potential touchdown. So, it was lingering last season, because of his frustration, which I agree is not acceptable. We have no different. But again, the presumption that great players don't have bad games just is a fallacy. I mean, Myles Garrett has bad games. Myles Garrett is the closest thing to a perfect football player I've ever seen.
I don't think anybody's saying people don't have bad games. I think people are saying with all the evidence gathered at the time that he had his bad game, it would be fair to maybe draw some conclusions that may or may not be true. Now, that could put you in tinfoil hat category, but it's not just going out on a limb saying nobody ever has bad games and AJ decided to have a bad game. It's saying
I don't think
the biggest moment after crying all year when the ball came his way, he conveniently drops the ball. If you want to call it a bad day, okay. Some people might look at that a different way. I think it's fair.
Well, your reputation is going to take a bad hit if people in this league think you're dropping the ball on purpose, and I mean a bad hit.
Yeah, I don't think it was on purpose.
I don't think anybody does that. You might even have, if you want to go down the route of gambling, you might have people dropping the ball on purpose for gambling scandals. I would believe that more than spite. And by the way, AJ doesn't hate Jalen Hurts. In fact, the two of them are still, friends, not as close as they once were, yada, yada, yada. I've explained that, they have kids. AJ's got kids and, people grow apart and Jalen got married. It's life. Think about if you're married, and you have kids, think about your friends before and after. It's life. Happens to everybody. He's not specifically trying to make Jalen Hurts look bad. I mean, but whatever. If you got your conspiracies, live in your conspiracies.
Gary, thank you, man. Here's Brando Shreds. What's up, Brando? Drake May has been crowned an elite passer a little early, I feel.
I agree. I don't think I said he's a high volume passer. I didn't say elite. I said he's a high volume passer, and he will be. Trust me, he will be. There's a difference. There's certain guys who are going, and I try to explain it all. Kirk Cousins being the best example. Is Kirk Cousins a great quarterback? No. Is he a good quarterback? Yes. Is he a high volume quarterback? Goddamn right he is. Look at him. Look at that guy's career. Look at the consistency of year to year. Just pure passing. I'm pulling it up right now because he's the best example I can give because he's played so much. He went a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8-year stretch where he had one season under 4,000 yards, and he had 3,603. He had 4166, 4917, 4,093, 4298, 4265, 4221, 4547. That's what I'm talking about. Not great quarterback, high volume quarterback.
Let me finish the Brando chat. He says, Drake May has been crowned an elite passer a little early, I feel. Interested to see AJ without a Saquon keeping the box loaded and Smitty on the other side. He got zoned out pretty easy in 2025.
Well, 2025 was a disaster offensively. Some people want to blame Kevin Patullo. Now that he's gone, they feel comfortable, I guess, blaming some of the other issues. I think mainly the biggest problem was their ineffectiveness on early downs, which makes things very easy. Look, you can zone up Jamar Chase if you want to. You can take any receiver out of any football game if you really, really want to. Again, I covered Randy Moss. I saw them bracket Randy Moss underneath at the height of his career. I've never seen it done before. Bracket him underneath with the corner and linebacker and then have a safety over the top. If you really, 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 really want to take out a receiver, you can do it. And the easiest way to do it is to obviously just place the safety right over the top. And they're 9 times out of 10, they're going to look the other way. So, anybody can take anybody out of the game if they really want to. But you're going to impact the rest of your defense. So you got to be careful.
Good stuff, Brando. Thanks for the super chat, brother. We appreciate it. Here's Jeff Bone, the Bonehead. Is Howie's stubbornness valid? I'd say so. Been on the winning end.
Sometimes yes, sometimes no. I mean, probably waited too long on Zach Ertz, like I said.
Right, but I think in the big moments, John, it's pretty good. I mean, remember the Carson Wentz thing? I mean, you could argue, John, without Carson Wentz and the move that Howie made of that trade, we don't have the team we have today. I mean, what did they get from that trade? You could argue they got Jalen Carter from that trade. They got, Devontae Smith. Remember, they picked up the extra first-round pick. That's when they moved back from 6 to 12 and then back up to 10. They picked up another first-rounder in the next year. I mean, they used that trade of Carson Wentz, who really never turned into the quarterback.
Yeah, but remember, I remember what the trade was for Carson Wentz. It was
conditional 2, right?
It was a conditional 2 in a 2021 third-round pick. So the only reason it became a first-round pick is because I think people forget Carson played damn well in Indianapolis. He was damn good. There was some talk about, but he had that, again, you talk about, they were in a position to make the playoffs, and he kind of shit the bed in the last 2 games, I believe. Might have been just the last game. It was definitely the last game. It might have been the last 2 games. But the whole point why it turned from a conditional 2 into a 1 is he played well. And it turned into a 1 because he played well. He played all 17 games that year, threw for 3,563 yards, 27 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. Like, I think people forget that. If the Eagles get a conditional 2 for A.J. Brown, people will be killing him. But I think A.J. would play well enough to turn it into a 1, but people would still be killing him. So, as usual, there's a lot of revisionist history. The fact, in other words, if Carson Wentz shits the bed in Indianapolis, that's a second-round pick. So, the fact that he played well actually helped the Eagles, which is part of the equation that I think
Yeah.
most Eagles fans forget.
Yep, I agree. Here's Fleming. What's up, Fleming? Keep AJ, sign Wilkins, and put their lockers together. Always Fleming. I can always count on you. Let's roll to the next one. Kimberly Sirico says, Z, I told you. We brought Byard and Julio Jones in 23. What are you saying for AJ?
Well, they thought Kevin would be like Julio. I mean, was at the end of his career. Great, obviously Hall of Fame receiver, but I don't know how much he had left. But yeah, he was close to AJ. I don't think they brought him in for AJ. They didn't bring. They wanted Kevin Byard, who's a big time player in Tennessee. They just happened to be friends, because they played together for a long time. Wasn't for AJ. Come on.
Good stuff there, Kimberly. Thank you. One more. Ramir says 1 win to make the playoffs and lost to 2 bad teams.
Yeah, but he played overall the whole season. He played really well. Which is why it turned into a first-round pick. If he played poorly, would have been a second-round pick. And the whole world is different.
Ramir, thank you, man. Appreciate the super chat. All right, John, we went a little long on A.J. Brown.
We gotta declare next week and AJ, unless the trade comes down, which I don't think it will.
John, whether you like it or not, we are beholden to A.J. Brown at this point.
I love it. I just love no matter how it ends, I get to spike the football, because if he's back, everybody will be reversing course. And if he goes, we've been lying to him for years.
Are you saying you've tactically played this to be able
to
declare victory regardless of the outcome?
Correct.
That is a wise man, Johnny Mac, a wise move.
Yeah. Well, it wasn't hard. I mean, but it's the nature of the fan. I mean, if he goes, the perception is that, he's wronged the Eagles and, he's turned on the Eagles. And at the end of the day, it doesn't matter who it is, from Jalen Hurts on down. At the end of the day, they root, as Jerry Seinfeld would say, they root for the laundry. You're going to be an Eagles fan, no matter who the players are. So always remember that. You're going to turn on them and you're going to love them. So it's very predictable.
Yes, that's fair. All right, Dabney. John, Dabney's a great viewer of ours. He believes that the A.J. Brown trade talk is a 100% top to bottom, a fabrication and media-made, media-driven only.
God, now I'm interested in this. I'm interested. Well, you gotta stick your head deep in the sand for this one.
That's what he says. He says this is media season. Everybody loves it. Media season.
Okay. We're controlling, we have a lot of control. We control Jimmy Sexton. We control AJ.
Yeah, if John had control of this narrative, I don't think this would be the narrative, John, if you had control.
No. Yeah, Dominique, you're wrong. That's all I can tell you. But if you don't want to believe me, it's your right not to believe me.
That's fair enough. I agree with that. All right, John, 5 minutes left to go on the show today. I teased some draft talk. We never really got to it. All right. Can they replace the edge rusher in the NFL draft, John? Is that going to be good enough, or will this team be looking again at the trade deadline to send a third-round pick to patch up the edge rusher room?
Boy, I don't think they can. The one guy I think who could potentially do it that could be in range is Keldrick Falk. Like, I'm not considering David Bailey or Arbel Reese or even Reuben Bain. The one guy, and I think Reuben Bain's going to have to move inside, to be honest. But the one guy I think who could do it is Keldrick Falk, but I don't think he'll be there. And I still think it's like maybe a 20% shot to do it like right away. So I wouldn't be confident in that. So yeah, I still think it's a big issue. I mean, I think getting Grenard would be a home run. But if you don't, you got to bring in somebody. So, and I don't ultimately, I think they would, Danny Dennis Sutton's a guy they're bringing in for a 30 visit. I think it'll be somebody like that in the second round. Derek Moore, Michigan, somebody like that. More than the first round, but I don't think that's a quick fix, to say the least.
Yeah, I struggle with that. I feel like they're going to get to the same spot where they were last year. Where now, to Howie's credit, I mean, I think he made the move that he needed to make to patch it up during the season. But don't you ideally want to get to a place where you don't need to make a trade at the deadline?
Yeah. I mean, look, the best case scenario, and I think John Stolness, I'm giving him the credit for it, is should have extended Jalen Phillips in season. Should have broke your rule.
I just don't know that he would have, dude. Remember, John, he's got Drew Rosenhaus, dude. Like, how Drew Rosenhaus works, Would he have taken $24 million in season? I don't think he would have. I mean, John, if you can remember how quick this changed, though. A month or two ago, we were talking at like $22 million was a big number for Jalen Phillips.
Remember, now Drew's obviously, Drew knows a hell of a lot more than us, and he knows a hell of a lot more than even Bob rocking over the cap.
Top dollar for his clients, which we can't knock him for.
Yeah, no. And he's been doing it for a long time. So he's got a better feel for the market and where it was going. But I got to tell you, I don't think people think it was going as high as it was going. And yes, I think Jalen Phillips would have signed in season for $24 million. I believe that. That's why I brought it up. And I told John that was a good point, because I believe that. And, if you think about where we started and we chuckled, and I don't blame you for bringing it up, but what was the spot rack number to start? 18 million?
17. At 17.
And I chuckled at it. I was like, now that, and look where we ended. But yeah, I think he would have signed in season for $24 million. Now, it would have been a bold move. I think Howie would have got some shit about that. Like, why are you extending this guy? I think he would have got some shit for that.
Is there a deadline, John, where you can extend guys in season or not? You can do it at any time, right? All through the year?
Yeah, you can do it.
Yeah. Oh, just because
it normally doesn't happen.
What week did they trade for him? Like week 10?
Deadline. He played the last 8 games or 9 games. So
yeah, so 9 or 10, I think they traded for
him. So look, he probably didn't want to do it, to be honest. And I look, I don't think even they, the presumption is that, like, Howie's got the beat, and he's better than anybody else, but he doesn't get all these right. Like, he didn't think Milton Williams was going to get the money he got. He didn't think Jalen Phillips was going to get $30 million. He didn't think Isaiah Rodgers was going to get 2 years in what he got. And he thought Reed Blankenship was going to be an 8-figure player. So he thought he was going to make $10 million. He was actually less than that. Even these guys don't know. When you hit that open market, man, and that's another thing. There were no big time edge rushers on the open market. So Jalen Phillips, and you saw it at the end, whether it was the Ringer, Athletic, ESPN, he was top 2, top 3. And all of a sudden it explodes to 30 million. And I don't think he's going to live up to that contract, to be honest. So I can't blame the Eagles for walking away, but when you walk away, the hole still exists and they've done nothing to fix it. Still plenty of time to address it. But other than Grenard, and maybe there's somebody else out there that I'm missing, I don't see anybody with the capability of bringing similar production. Certainly not a rookie, unless you're willing to go way up and get one of the, and that you're talking potential top 5 with Bailey and Reese, both of them. So you're not getting up there. And both won't go in the top 5, but I would say both will go in the top 10. So I don't think you can get up there. And even that, are you really comfortable with David? Most people think David Bailey's the top edge rusher in the draft. Is he really going to be a dominant pass rusher from day one?
Probably not.
The Phillips one is I struggle with because I think he's overpaid, but I think he's really good, and it's going to be really difficult to replace him.
Is Trayvon Walker? Did they ever pay him?
I don't know. I'd have to.
That's a guy I would love to pry from Jacksonville. I think that would be a great.
Yeah, I don't know where that came from. I remember talking about it. I'm like, well, why would they trade him?
No, the only thing it came from was that they got a new regime.
So much. Well, they paid so much for
exactly with Travis Hunter. They got a new regime. You know how it is. Sometimes regimes aren't.
Oh no, they paid. They have a good edge. They have Josh
Hines Allen. His name is. They have him.
And, so they picked up his 5th-year option. So I believe. Let me look up his contract. He should be a free agent unless they get something done this year after this season.
Yeah.
Maybe, but that again, that's something down the road. Maybe if they're having a bad season, maybe that's your trade deadline pickup this year because maybe they say, all right, let's get something for him.
Yeah.
But there's a guy who will, if he hits the open market, he'll get a big contract. So, you can play the compensatory game too if you're Jacksonville. So you'd be getting a 3rd round pick back, most likely the year after that. So you could do it that way from their perspective. So would they want the 3rd round pick early, or will they be willing to wait for it? It's kind of where you are.
Article came out on Walter Football, excuse me, from Charlie Campbell that they plan to extend him, but I don't know if that's true or not.
Well, when you're paying 128, how much do you go for the other?
That's right.
I think Hines Allen is up there.
Yeah, he's up there. I think 28. I think you nailed it. I think that's what he is.
Yeah, so maybe, but that's not for now. I mean, that would be because they consider after last season, they consider themselves a contender. And they had a pretty good season last year.
Good stuff. All right, John, your final thought here on a Football Friday edition of
Too much AJ talk. I got a headache, man. I gotta get a cup of coffee, get rid of this headache.
Oh man, you had a headache and I gave you that today? Oh, I apologize.
It may have been from the AJ talk. Yeah, I like Dominique Dabney though. Still believe, still a truther. We're all lying.
You've been saying it all year, all summer. We're
all lying here.
We are the arbiters of all the AJ Brown.
I always joke every Tuesday we go to the Penrose to, dream up ways to derail your favorite team.
I've never been invited to one of these Penrose meetings. I might have to make my way out next week. All right, John. Good show, man. Great week of shows, actually. And I will catch you. Maybe this weekend if they make a move.
I don't think much is going to happen because the meetings are next week.
Probably some Damien Pierce level moves, right?
Yeah, maybe those type of moves. But yeah, things are slowing down from the free agency standpoint. Yep. One guy I should have brought up, if things go terribly and they can't get anything, why not bring in Cam Jordan for 1 year?
What about Von Miller, John?
I don't think he's got much left. He's a pure rotation. Like Cam Jordan still plays a lot. Like I think you need somebody who's got to play a lot. And Cam Jordan can still go. So Anyway, that's a thought. Like
Yeah.
that late, you're
I don't hate it
talking
at all. Yeah.
post June, type of thing. Like, and he's not going to want to do off season work anyway.
The only reason I brought up Vaughn is because I know you hate sacks, so I don't want to go right there.
No, I don't hate sacks.
Well, I know you hate
that,
using that as a metric to gauge
yes,
it,
that I do,
which I agree with. But he did have 9 last year. But all his stats, like all the tackle numbers and everything, were up as well. So I didn't look at the snap counts. I thought maybe he was on the field more. I mean, he had his most tackles last year since he had since 2021. So I was like, maybe, I don't know. Maybe there's something there. Maybe I don't know. He is older. So I like Cam Jordan, though. I wouldn't hate that.
Well, he's old. I mean, Cam's 36. The only reason I'd be talking about it is he can't find anything else. He wants to go chase a ring. I think he's the ring chaser guy because he can still play. I got to look him up.
Did Cam play with no, he didn't go to the Chiefs, did he?
No, Saints. He's his entire career.
Yeah, he's been with the Saints. I know. I thought someone just commented he's with the Chiefs.
Oh,
I didn't know.
Jordan signed? I missed that. I don't think he signed.
I don't think he did either.
I don't think he wants to sign.
Yeah, he might not. I don't think he signed with the Chiefs. No, that was fake news. I got duped. I know he was the Saints guy. Obviously, been with the Saints forever. So, all right, John, good show today, man. We will see what happens, and we'll be back on Monday at the latest. Johnny Mac, thank you, brother. Appreciate it. I will talk to you then.
All right, thanks all.
All right, thanks, J Mac. There's Johnny Mac. John McMullen joining us right here on Birds 365. A great show today. A lot of good commentary, a little good debate action on the greatness, on your highness, A.J. Brown. If you want to fucking bark like this, if you want to get your way in life, you know what that should come with? You know what should precede this level of whining and crying and bitching and moaning and demanding and all this bullshit? You know what should precede that? I'll tell you what should precede that. Dominance. When the ball comes your way, you fucking catch it. That's what should precede it. Here we got guys like Twizzler in here who wants to give him a cop-out for dropping the ball 4 times in a damn playoff game. Then he wants to bitch and moan and cry and whine. Holy shit. Holy shit. The amount of AJ whiners in the chat is unbelievable. Z looks tired today. Let's check the whoop. Let's check the whoop. The stupid whoop. You know what the whoop exists for? To tell me I'm tired. I'm like, shut the fuck up. How about you tell me something useful for my life? Oh, there you go. What am I at? 29%. See it? 29% recovery. 29% recovery. The stupid whoop exists to tell me I'm tired. You know, when I wake up and the whoop tells me I'm tired, I say, shut the fuck up, whoop. Now I am motivated to have a great day because this piece of shit technology told me that I'm not supposed to have a great day because I'm tired. Shut up. This is what you get when you act on your feelings. AJ Brown, take note. Guy's probably going off his whoop too much. Zander don't make mistakes. I make mistakes, Twiz. I make more of them than I can count. My whole theory is, Twiz, you got to take enough shots. You know, if you don't take enough shots, Twiz, then your successes will not overcome your mistakes. Fucking Twiz. This guy Twiz is so teared up about AJ Brown. Wow, Chuck Norris died? Is that right? Damn, rest in peace to Chuck Norris. 86 years old. Wow, he had a medical emergency in Hawaii. Damn. Rest in peace, Chuck Norris. What was the medical emergency? Wow, he was on the island of Kauai or Kauai. Anybody in here like Hawaiian or know how to pronounce it? Hawaii sounds like it could be a different country. Kauai or Kauawa or Kauau or Kauai or what the fuck is Kauai? Kauai. Does anybody know how to pronounce this? Caillou or Kou or Kou or holy moly. It's like Caillou. What's that stupid show as a kid? Caillou. Caillou. That's what when I think of Dominique Dabney, I think of Caillou. Dabney, I'm kidding. I actually love Dabney. I think he provides a great spark to the chat. All right. Zander needs a baby nap. The tech is right. He's cranky. Shut the fuck up, David. Fucking David out here bitching and moaning and crying and whining. Guys at the camp with A.J. Brown. Guys in summer camp with A.J. Brown. A.J. Brown and Caillou and David or Billy or Booby or Bobby or whatever the fuck his name is. Go take a nappy. I don't take naps. I'm good. Timeout time. That's funny. Good one, Paporo. There, bro. You got me. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable. Here's David says, A.J. Brown is your favorite Eagle. Don't lie, Z. I liked him until he threw his quarterback under the bus like a stiff. You can have problems throwing him under the bus. I don't like disloyal people. I don't like Judases. All right? Loyalty means something to me. I know it doesn't mean anything to you gooners. There's no exactly right, Rasputin. I'm looking to push that number to 40, 50, 60. All right. 0.1 for Z. Fuck the clankers. Brandon, let's go, Brandon. Woo! Brandon Howard. Firing on all cylinders today. Hurts was disloyal to Sirianni. Was he? Because I didn't see anything on that. I didn't see any evidence of this. Here's M. Reyes. Did y'all talk about Lane's interview? About why the run game is lacking? We talked a little bit about it yesterday. Shooter McGavin, I feel bad for you, man. You're getting, not only are you getting the biggest whiner in the history of freaking football, for crying out loud. This guy's got 5K yards in 4 years. He's acting like he's a bottom of the barrel wide receiver. He's acting like he's Jahan Dotson. You know, Jahan Dotson has more of an argument to whine and bitch and moan than fucking A.J. Brown does. I mean, are you kidding me? Devontae Smith has more reason to bitch and moan than A.J. Brown does. Zander has Timo. I'm out of my office, Paul. Why don't you worry about yourself, Paul? Fucking A. Go do some more scout breakdowns, Paul. Mr. Know-It-All Paul. That's what I call you, Paul. The Know-It-All Paul. Know-It-All Paul's in here bitching and moaning. Mr. Sparks says, we're loyal to your morning show. Mr. Sparks! Thank you, brother. I wouldn't be here without you, Mr. Sparks. Here's Fly Goes Fly. I'm descended from Italian mob. You think I don't practice loyalty? Exactly. You know, I might not look Italian. My name might not be Italian, but my mom is 100% Italian. My great-grandparents are fresh off the boat, baby, from Italy. Rats. We don't like rats around here. Fucking Rat City. I smell them. You guys smell them. You know when those goofy movies where they got rats running around the attic and you hear the little paws? That's what I hear right now, all through the JAKIB chats. All through the JAKIB chats, I hear the rats clamoring and clattering around. They're unhinged. No one in the Italian. That's true. That's true, Zeal. They all turned on everybody. Bunch of rats. That's why Joey Merlino's out with a successful cheesesteak business. All right. Paparo, that's you. I hear you scuffling in the rafters. Send his ass to the Patriots. I know, John, he's not going to do shit. I'm with you. He's barely doing shit over there. Rasputin, I kind of love the YouTubers. No, I love watching the content on YouTube, but you're right. They all did it. Here's a good joke for you. AJ Brown's best days are ahead of him. Yeah, that is a damn good joke. His best days are behind him. Newsflash, everybody. AJ Brown's been a great receiver in Philadelphia. AJ Brown is a highly accomplished player. AJ Brown is a talented football player. AJ Brown's best days are back there. They're back there. They're behind. Brian Fleming strikes. He says they're behind him like a pass from Hurts. If it hits him in the hands, I don't want to hear a fucking excuse, Fleming. What, $32 million on the contract comes with the need for every pass to be perfectly hand delivered to you? If the ball hits your hands, catch the ball. I knew Twiz would like that. This dude Twiz. I mean, I've never seen somebody. Twiz is like on the fucking float still. He's like, Twiz didn't show up to the Eagles parade. He actually showed up to the AJ Brown concert. It's like, holy shit, Twiz. Give it a break, guy. Give it a break. Your jaw needs a rest, for crying out loud. Paparo says, what about Hurts? Will he improve, Z? I said yesterday he's got to be better. And no, I don't have an expectation that he's that much better. But, Steven, I'll ask you this. Was Jalen Hurts good enough for the Philadelphia Eagles to play in 2 Super Bowls and win one? Was he good enough, Paparo? Was he good enough? Answer the question. I'll answer it for you, Paparo. As the mice in the rafters go flying away, they all scatter back to the corners. Yes, he was. So you can keep bitching and moaning all you want. There, the classic cop-out. The team won. Yeah, and Jalen was a part of the team, right, Paparo? Teams win, Z. Yeah, tell AJ Brown that. You don't need to tell Jalen Hurts that, Paparo. He sacrificed his stats. He went from 3,850 to 2,900. You don't see him bitching and crying. Teams win. That's right. Why don't you send that to AJ Brown? Go and fetch an owl like it's Harry Potter and send the owl with the message to AJ Brown. Just make sure you don't steal his car. I already got all my supers. Bunch of freaking scrubs. Not you guys. Some of you guys. Not all you guys. That's right, Daz. Nobody's bigger than the team. Nobody's bigger than the squad. Not even the greatness of Adonai Kadabi. I love making people famous in the YouTube chats. Reyes is famous. Cilio made Reyes famous for sure. Zander the Kango today is fired. Thanks, Big Mike. Thank you, Big Mike. I never seen a group of fans value a receiver over the franchise quarterback. I think both have their own conversations. Here's fucking Twizzler. Yeah, Twizzler, I got a message for you, Twiz. Why don't you head out to the farm, get a pipe out, load it up with some tobacco, sit on a farm, fucking nurse your animals, fix your barn, whatever the hell it is you got to do. Ride your razor, do whatever you got to do, Twiz. But your football takes have been bottom of the barrel for the better part of the last month. Bottom of the barrel. Oh, Sig, I saw your DM this morning. Cilia does his guest, dude. I saw your DM this morning. And Cilia wants Afro Man on. When the Afro Man walked through the wild land, houses went up for sale. Is that Afro Man? I was standing on the corner selling rap CDs when I met a little girl named Jan. I let her ride in the caddy. I don't want to say the rest. That's a classic song, though. Is that who it is? That's the man, Afro Man. What's the other song I like by him? Fuck you talking about? Think I don't know Afro Man. Oh, that's a better one. That's a way better one. Because I got high. Because I got high. Because I got high. Da 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 da. I was gonna go to class and then I got high. I was gonna clean my room until I got high. Are you kidding me? What a great song, man. That and Crazy Rap. Crazy Rap. Colt 45 and 2 zigzags. Baby, that's all we need. Come on, man. Stop playing with me. Stop playing with me. Stop playing. I'll take some Afro Man on the show. Sills can pull any guest, dude. Sills is amazing with guests. I was going to clean my place, and then I got high. That's all. That's this chat. I'm learning this chat is a bunch of stoneheads. A bunch of stoneheads in this chat. And believe me, there's a reason that I know. Okay? Not anybody can know this. Not anybody can know this. Zander, have you heard the ones from the case this year? No, I haven't heard that shit at all. Oh, the lemon pound cake? Is that the one? Is that the one, lemon pound cake? I don't know this one. I might if I hear it. Oh, come on. Because I got high is all time. So is Colt 45. Colt 45 and 2 zigzags. Baby, that's all we need. We can go to the park after dog. Smoke that tumbleweed. While the marijuana burning, we could take our turn singing them dirty rap songs. Come on, man. You guys didn't know I could sing, did you? You didn't know I had a little Afro Man in me. See, this is why I keep you on your fucking toes. Isn't that right, Deshae? All right? I keep you on your toes. It's a whole thing, Z. They raided his house. I didn't even see any of this. I had no clue. No, I have premium, Fleming. I'm on a different browser. I'm on my Chrome for StreamYard. I'm not logged into my I do have YouTube Premium. Come on, I'm a premium truther. I'm spiteful as F. Sill said everyone would turn on AJ. Twiz, honestly, do you honestly believe, as much as you might like AJ Brown as a player, do you honestly believe he's handled this whole thing well? I mean, are you kidding me, Twiz? Twiz, if your spite is not allowing you to see what AJ Brown has done, come on, Twiz. Come on, Twiz. AJ playing in y'all faces and thinks it's funny. Well, good. Send him to fucking Cleveland. Give a rat's ass. We got Super Bowls to win in Philadelphia. You know what? What's that Jalen Hurts? What's the Jalenism? What's the best Jalenism of all the Jalenisms? Is what? Keep the main thing the main thing. Yet Twiz is over here like, I have to be loyal to AJ Brown, so I will worry about bullshit. You know, I just watched Lord of the Rings. They're falling prey to the evil powers of the ring. You must go into Mordor and destroy the ring. You're like Gollum, Twiz. Kermingle. You're like Gollum. Kermingle. I'm having too much fun this morning. I got to get off the air. You guys are right. The technology is correct. I'm a little delirious. That's a good one. Embrace. That is a great Jalenism. I had a purpose before anybody had an opinion. That might be the best Jalenism. That might be the best Jalenism. Let's look up the top Jalen Hurts sayings. Top Jalen Hurts quotes. Here we go. There's some dude on Reddit. Of course, Eagle fans are out here. I mean, they got a whole Reddit thread, all right, of Jalenisms. First one, I had a purpose before everybody had an opinion. Next one, money is nice. Championships are better. Next one, I didn't walk through the fire just to smell the smoke. That's a good one. Come on, man. That's a good one. Even the Jalen haters will have to admit, I didn't walk through the fire just to smell the smoke is a good one. This one is hilarious. Sounds like a DNA thing. That was one of the legitimate funniest comments I've ever heard Jalen make. Sounds like a DNA thing. What a fucking elite troll. That is an elite troll, dude. If you hit somebody with that, they're just going to be like, shit. You either win or you learn. What else we got? Here's Joker Mag writes an article. The best Jalen Hurts quotes to inspire young QBs everywhere. I respect this grind. I respect the process, and I respect what it takes to be great. We have a standard for ourselves, and it only rises. That's a great quote. And a true quote. Should be true for everybody in their life. Set a standard for yourself, meet it, and continue to rise it. Here's a Jalen Hurts quote that maybe AJ Brown can listen to. The most important thing is to be where your feet are. Here's a great one. I've been blessed to grow, learn things, and just mature, and I know God has been there the whole entire way. Well done, Jalen Hurts. I admire anyone who puts their head down and works for what they want. Another good one. Dude, Jalen's got some great Jalenisms. It takes everyone. No man is an island. You must draw your strength from others. That sounds like a Marcus Aurelius quote. We don't worry about external factors. We control what we can. That's me fending off the dumbass comments in the JAKIB chat. Oh, I love this one. Last one. Ready? When you look yourself in the mirror as a man and say, I'm going to control the things I can control, that's how you get better. Come on, that's a fucking Fuego quote. That's like Twiz. Twiz, when you look yourself in the mirror as a man, Twiz, and you say, I'm going to control the things I can control, that's how you get better. Come on, Twizzler. Come on, Twizzler. Oh, man. Rain, sleet, or snow. The Eagles trained to go. Another great one. I mean, people can joke about Hurts' quotes, but he does have some fire ones. Come on, guys. When you take a douche, you don't sit there and look at it. You flush it and move on. Oh, my gosh. Guys, Jalen Hurts has fucking iconic quotes, dude. This guy has, I'm going to make a t-shirt brand of these quotes. These are phenomenal. These are phenomenal. When you take a douche, you don't sit there and look at it. You flush it and move on. I mean, that is great. People like Twiz sit there and stare at it. They get out their tape measure and fucking measure the deuce. Coach used to always say, hungry dogs run faster. I ain't hungry. I'm starving for this shit. Come on, man. Mello, that's a great one, too. That's a great one, too. It's a great one, too. All right, I'm out of here. I'm happy to end your guys' Friday on Birds 365 with some Jalenisms. With some Jalenisms. Twiz will be saying them out in the yard today. Twiz will be fixing his broken tractor. His wrench will break. It won't work because he stripped it. You know, he bought a cheap piece of shit one instead of buying the good one. The wrench cracks, and then he's out there saying Jalenisms in the field. He's out there saying Jalenisms. The Jalenisms will keep Twiz going. Brandon, next week, bro. Next week. I haven't been in the studio, if you can't tell. I'm a very busy man right now, Brandon, with a lot of shit that I really don't want to be busy with, but I am. You know, it is what it is. It is what it is, what it is, what it is. Is that a Jalenism? Here's another one for A.J. Brown. The grass will be green where you water it. Jalen Hurts. A.J. Brown, you listening? A.J. Brown, are your ears open, A.J.? The grass will be green where you water it. Discord update. Sig, it's coming with the membership stuff. I set it up. Actually, let me pull it up on my phone. I think I got it. What do you guys, actually, this is real quick before I go. What do you guys want in the JAKIB Discord? Like, what would be good, where's my, there it is. Log in, confirm. All these damn. It's me. Yes, I approve. It's me. Okay. Log in. All right, I'm in. All right, JAKIB Sports. I got the public, the general. I think I have a meme zone. I got a game day chat. We have a members lounge, fan lounge, giveaways and polls. So we'll do our giveaways there. I have family and legends. So we're going to have members. We're going to have the family. We're going to have the legends. This is where I'm going to do more things for the top guys. We have, what else? I thought I had a couple more. I guess the voice, if you want to do voice, a mod chat. What else should I put in this sucker? What else should I put in this sucker? I can't stand Discord. Daz, I like it because it connects to YouTube and it allows all the people from YouTube who are members to have their membership integrated into Discord. So I like it for that reason. I like it for that reason. I don't think it's bad. I've never been like a user. I know it's a huge thing though. Like a lot of companies I use, they're like, oh, join our Discord server. So I know it's a big thing. Yeah, I have a JAKIB bot. I have a giveaway bot. So we'll do giveaways in here. Yeah, well, Mello, that's right. We'll add a Jalenism section. They do. Their UI is not that good. I keep the grass cut to keep the snakes out. Twiz, that sounds like, or a Prince, that sounds like a something that we can adapt ourselves, right? All right, I'm out of here. Yeah, I'll get this Discord up. The other thing I want to do is I do want to have bots that will like give, I think you can set them for like where they do NFL updates, or like if the Eagles sign somebody, a bot would put it in there. I think I can set bots if when I go live on the channel, it will send out a message to the Discord people that I went live on the channel, so you guys don't miss our live streams. So different things like that. I'm excited. I do have some big things. I do have some good ideas coming on just kind of making JAKIB better. I'm pretty happy with the Clips channel. I'm not going to lie to you. Now, I've told you guys before, not all views are created equal. You know, our watch time is lower on the Clips channel because 224,641 views in the last 28 days on the Clips channel. Most of them are probably shorts. So our watch time is 4K hours, as opposed to JAKIB has crazy watch time. But it is a good, you know, it's been a good place to find kind of new viewers, you know, of the channel. So that's exciting. Jalenism corner. We're going to do that. Yeah. Sig, that's what I'm trying to. Sig, do you want to help me set this up? Sig, that'd be great. I don't want to ask you for free work, but Prince says my Discord is for gaming. Well, Prince, join the JAKIB channel. Join the JAKIB Discord. I'm going to start. How about this? I'll work on it this weekend, and I'll send out the link on Monday. For people to join in on the Discord. Hopefully I can get these me 3 things or whatever they are, the bots set up properly. So I didn't put out the link yet, A-Team. I didn't put out the link yet, so I'm going to get it going. Yeah, Sig, I might have my my agents do it, my AI agents. They can connect to it via API, so I can have them set it up for me. All right, guys, good show today. A lot of energy, a lot of excitement, a lot of debate about A.J. Brown. All right. A lot of Jalenism readings. Again, I don't sit here and act like I don't think the offense doesn't need to be better. But what I'm not going to do is I'm not going to sit here and act like, you know, A.J. Brown's tears are the thing we should all placate to and build our entire team around. Okay? Love all you guys. It's a good week of shows this week. All right, a good week of shows. Jeff Bone, member for 20 months. Rest in peace, Chuck Norris. Rest in peace to Chuck Norris. I'll pray for his family and the repose of his soul. Love all you guys. See you next time, everybody.
EAGLES. Eagles.